What's up, y'all? This is Recovery Plug, second episode. My guest, Thomas Mcgee. When I first got into recovery, he was my plug. He was my mail plug. If I needed to know where to send a guy, he knew all the answers. He was definitely that guy. When I decided to actually it wasn't even my decision to get into recovery. Tommy kind of came to me. He was like, "Hey man, look, this job that I got, you would be really good at it. I think you should try it out. I think you should see, I think you're meant for this job." And he encouraged me to get into the actual world of recovery, doing the actual getting out in the field of it. So he was the reason. Tommy, what's up, man? How you doing?
How you doing? What am I doing?
I'm good. I'm good. It's cool, man. This is definitely what it is. So, I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna ask you because we kind of came from the same area. What was your favorite artist as a kid, man? Musically, like what'd you listen to?
The guy.
Tupac, yeah,
Tupac's gotta be the guy.
yeah.
There was
So he's basically saying you're what, born in what, the 70s, 80s? I think it was. He's definitely staying his age. So you were born back then, raised probably in the 90s. Were you out south, right? South side. You did, you did go to high school?
Yeah,
That's cool.
till 16.
That's,
Yeah, I did make it there.
that's right. Hickman? Ruskin?
Hickman,
Ah,
Hickman,
Hickman. I was a
yes.
Ruskin. And a Ruskin Eagle. He was a Cougar.
Yeah, we didn't mess with these guys.
Yeah. Look, there you go. So, in honor of Chiefs going back to the Super Bowl, I'm the Dirty Dan wearing the Dirty D. So let's get into it, man. That's what we're here for. We're here to hear about your story, man. Where did it all come from? Do you got into recovery for a reason? Why? What?
The pain, you know what I mean, the misery. I would be doing a disservice if I just glorified the fun times. The end result. There was a lot of pain, a lot of misery, a lot of insanity.
Mm,
A lot of aimlessly roaming the streets in a delusional state. So the pain of remaining who I was, or going back to prison, or any of the things that I had been doing was no longer an option, and the fear of change became less painful than staying the same.
yeah. So let's rewind it a little bit. I mean, it wasn't always bad, right? I mean, you started off. I mean, did they just someone just say, "Look, you're gonna start doing dope. You're gonna start living a life of crime, and that's the way it's gonna be," or was it something that you seen that you were like, "Ooh, let me go do that"? How did that work out?
Well, all the way up till I was about 12 years old, I was a pretty good kid. I played baseball. I made good grades. Somewhere around 12, and I don't want this to sound like an excuse or blaming, but MTV and Tupac and Biggie and Ice T and Two Live Crew and made the game, the drugs, the gangs, the cars, the women appear to be amazing, right? Appear to be the way to go. In the 90s, when I grew up, it seemed like everybody was in the gang. You know what I mean? Everybody had some sort of a gang, and if you didn't, you were picked on, you were beat on, you were it was bad. So I joined my first gang at the age of 13, called Brothers. It was like six of us guys in my neighborhood, and we took up for each other. Eventually, by the time I was 15, I joined a street gang. You know what I mean? And around dinners, I'd already been on drugs, dope, weed. You know what I mean? We were partying. I was selling weed, of course. Doing amphetamines, all of the above. By when I was 17, I caught my first felony. Um, I was a getaway driver in a shooting in Olathe. Um, and from there, I went off to school. I'll call it. I went off to the state prison in Kansas. And I will say that I learned a lot of my behaviors that I carried on into my adult life. A lot of misconceptions of what a man was and what a man should be. And became what they call in the streets with the shit. I use it a lot when I'm sharing because when I was on the streets, I really was with the shit. Whatever we were into, that's what I was doing. From 17, I did that time and I was in and out and in and out and in and out. And this was the lifestyle that I got used to. Gang, street, fighting, guns, drugs, women. You know, somewhere, and I like to share this. Somewhere along the lines, I went from hustling recreational user to an abuser. To having to have it, having to have the drugs, the liquor, to be who I had became. I share with people all the time is be careful what you try to be because one day you'll wake up and that's exactly what you'll be. And that's what I was for many a years. And I talked about the hopeless state. It seems like that is all I knew, right? For a while, you know what I mean? Like when people would talk about change, I had kids in the midst of all this, and there's a part of me that really wanted to change and be a dad and be different. But all I really knew was my people, right? The streets, the hustling. So that's where I ended up every time, in the fear and the of meeting new people and making them changes, or I was comfortable in the mess, as I like to share. And I stayed there. You know what I mean? I stayed there for a long time. Lots more prison time, like I said. Lots more anguish. I became everything I didn't want to as a kid. My father was. How can I put it mildly? My father was on crack cocaine all of my adult life. He wasn't around much. Both stepfathers were indicted for manufacturing methamphetamines. Um, and I used the excuse that I was born in the game for a long time to stay the same. Uh, so, from there, I became everything that I didn't want to become. I became a bad dad. I became a womanizer. I became a woman abuser. You know what I mean? And I mean that with all my heart, is that I became a woman abuser and everything that I did not want to be growing up. And I can't blame it on the drugs. You know what I mean? There was something inside of me that some might call it evil or whatever, that was that person. There's, and this, all of this built up. You know what I mean? And then you wake up one day and you realize that the people you went to school with are buying their second home, are raising their kids, are good people. You're getting out of prison again. In 3 months, you have three more felonies and felony warrants, and child support out the yin yang, and you're in this hole so deep. You have city warrants, that there seems to be no way out. There seems to be no way out of this hole. And from there, the desperation. I didn't. Let me be honest. I didn't want to live anymore. You know what I mean? But I didn't have the guts to off myself, right? So I reached out for help. I called the treatment center, and they told me it'd be 5 or 6 weeks, and I thought, God, I told the lady, I said, I'm going to be dead. You know what I mean? I'm going to die in 5 or 6 weeks. And 3 days later, the lady called me and said, somebody didn't show up. Can you be here?
What was the treatment center?
Comprehensive mental health.
Comprehensive mental health.
It's called the Gateway Program.
Another recovery plug for y'all that don't know.
Yes, comprehensive mental health. If you're in the metro area, please feel free to reach out. 816-254-3652.
That is a shameless plug.
Yeah, men and women, inpatient, outpatient, medication assisted treatment. Fantastic place. Place changed my life and many others in our community.
So we're going to get to that part of the story because that is definitely an amazing part of the story. You reached out. I mean, a lot of people don't reach out. I mean, that we get to that point and we're just like, you know what? I'm not reaching out. I don't know where to reach out. Even if I did reach out, what's going to happen next that's where that fear of change, because you know what I'm saying, a lot of us get to a point to where we're like, if I reach out and they do help me, then I'm kind of forced to make that change, and am I ready for that? So how did you know? How did Tommy know that I'm ready for something different. I'm ready to get out of this freaking hell.
Let me rewind. So in May 15th, 2002, so it would have been the first week of May. I had my son April of 2002. This was my second child. And at the time, I had just got out of prison. I was in a bunch of crap. I was on probation, and the probation officer told me that I was either going to go to treatment or back to jail. So I didn't want to change anything, but I went to treatment. Comprehensive mental health. May 15th, 2002, I checked myself in. That was my first clean date. And I went in there with the mindset of not wanting to change. I just did not want to go to jail. Something clicked while I was in there, and I made some friends. I met a great man, two great men, Mike Williams, rest in peace, and Andrew Williams, rest in peace. And these two men changed my life. I was in a group setting with Mike Williams and this OG cat. He told me to man up, and I was in my 20s, and I'm like, the fuck you mean man up? I'm a man, and I threw that prison shit at him, and he looked at me right in my eyes, and he said, a man takes care of his kids, a man takes care of his responsibility, a man, and he broke it down to me. And logically later that night I was laying in bed, and it's hard to argue with logic. I really wasn't what a man was. Long story short, I really got into recovery then in the AA program, and I ended up with 4 years, 3 months, and 2 days before I relapsed. I won't say for a couple of them, I had a really good program. For the others, I was just abstinence. I was still flirting with the lifestyle, still talking to the old friends, still trying to hustle kind of on the side. But I was abstinent for the next 2 years. And then I relapsed. And within 9 months, I had two new felonies. I was back in prison. Right back at it. It quickly disintegrated. I wish I could. My story was that I had came back quickly, that I had bounced back, but I was out using and back in the game for 9 years. So 9 years later, when I was finally at the point, and I'll say pride probably kept me out for a while. Pride probably kept me out there because I knew what the solution was. I was just afraid to walk in and ask. Till that desperation of that day, so I called something that had worked prior, and it worked again, the message had not changed. The message was the same. You know what I mean? The literature is the same. The solution. I'm a big person. I talk about the solution. You know what I mean? I lived in the problem for a long time. Today, I try to live in the solution. There is a solution. If you're out there right now and you believe that there's no way out, there's a solution. You just got to ask somebody else because you're stuck in the problem. So from there, when I did call comprehensive, I knew that the only thing that's ever stopped Tommy is the cops going to jail, a mental hospital, or a treatment center that I needed to be locked in a controlled environment to stop. So that's why I reached out to comprehensive mental health.
You went to comprehensive
Inpatient treatment, 28 days.
What day was that?
That was March. Gosh, it had to be March 10th, probably 2015. I got out of treatment April 7th. I know that for sure.
So when you went in, treatment got out, you haven't used since, right?
March 5th, 2015 is my new clean day. That's the day that I called for treatment. And then the 3 days later, so it might have been March 8th that they called or I got there.
So you went into inpatient, got out 28 days later, and it was gravy the rest of the time, right? Recovery was a piece of cake. You walked, you got out, got a job, got your house back, everything just fell into place, right?
I wish. I wish.
Yes. So let's hear about this next year of recovery. Once you decided to make that change, what was that next year like?
Oh man. So first, let me say for those out there that it took a lot of work. messing up my life, and that it took a lot of work to navigate my way out of it. So I went to a fantastic recovery house, straight from treatment. Um, Carl Wu arranged it.
Mm.
Joey Williams, shout out. Um, or Joey Garrett, I'm sorry,
Joey
Joey Garrett.
Garrett, yeah,
Yep,
JG.
Joey Garrett drove me to treatment. What's up, buddy? And dropped me off at the Union House, and the Carl Wu and them agreed to pay for my first week. And I got there, and this old son of a gun, Jim McClary, I mean, great, fantastic guy. He's got probably 20 years now, but he didn't play no games. So I had to get busy. my so I signed up for outpatient, um, and was doing outpatient. There was 4 mandatory AA meetings at the recovery house: Monday 6:30, Wednesday 6:30, Friday 6:30, and 10 a.m. on Sunday. In between those, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I was hitting Narcotics Anonymous meetings, and Friday and Saturday nights. Between that, I was catching the bus to Raytown, Missouri, man, on 350 to the IHOP. Shout out to Jason Deere for my first job, buddy. Thank you. You know what I mean? So here I am. I had to ride the bus all the way downtown from Independence, which was, I don't know, 45 minutes or an hour. And then I had to catch the bus all the way to Blue Ridge and 350. From Blue Ridge and 350, I had to walk down 350 for 20 plus minutes to the IHOP. I did that in the evening. I worked overnight from 11 to 7, and then I caught the bus at 7:30 the next morning back to the Union House. I did this for several months, man, and I just stayed busy. And it was a grind. It was very, very, oh God, tiring,
Mm.
But I did not want to go backwards. I refused to give up, and I grinded it out. The whole time I'm praying for something better, but trying to remain grateful for what I had. Um, so I don't know. I had that job for several months. Um, from there, so when I came in, I had 3 felony warrants, city warrants. And one night, me and some friends were leaving a meeting in Grandview, and we got pulled over. Well, Tommy went to jail, which was unnormal, which was normal. What wasn't normal is that I was clean, I mean, that I was in my right mind. So I went into the Jackson County Jail with a pretty good mind state, with a God of my understanding. Um, and I tried to be a message of hope to some of the people in there. The whole time, keeping hope that I wouldn't have to go back to prison, but ready to accept that if I did, that's what it was. Um, and I was there a couple of months, and everything worked out. I walked into the courtroom finally, and that the people and treatment had showed up and wrote letters, and they reinstated everything, man. They let me go. And I will say the people of the program picked me up at the jail. They came and visited me, put money on the phone. I mean, it was a different kind of time. Doing the right thing. But yeah, as I got out, somebody from the program, Roger Sheets, shout out, buddy, picked me up and drove me straight back to that recovery house. Um, and I got back in that recovery house. Of course, I had lost the IHOP job because I was in jail, and I got my second job. Shannon Farrell, thanks, buddy. Got me on at Applebee's. Applebee's at the Independent Center. I don't know if you guys remember that. And I stayed at that job for 18 months, man. All the while sticking to that mundane schedule. I would give this thing. This is the beautiful thing about recovery. It gets a little bit better. So the bus stop was in the yard at the recovery house. The bus ride was 35 minutes, right? Not an hour and 35, and the walk was 5 minutes. You know what I mean? But because I had done the other bus ride, the other walk, the riding the bike, man, this seemed like gravy. So therefore, I worked that job for 18 months, man. Met a lot of great people at that job. I grew to love that job. I became the day cook. Missed one day of work in 18 months, which is unreal. I never had a job over a year. My sponsor told me that when I got the job, he said, "Man, I want to see you keep a job for a year," you know. And I stayed there for 18 months. You know, and meanwhile, working steps, I got a sponsor, going to meetings, doing all my required AA meetings. Started to pay the child support. I say started to pay. They came and took the child support. Okay. One day I got paid, and it was a 2 week check, and I made $130, and you know, it was disheartening too. But I had been running from life for so long. You know, it had caught up. You know,
So, so you so you're busting your butt, and now child support's coming to take your money. So I know this is a big thing because this is where you gotta like let go and let God, you know, to say. So what program was you using to get you through? Because I mean, there had to have been something that you plugged into to get you through these type of things, and I haven't heard you mention what exactly that was yet.
the solution, um, the meetings, the tables. So after it happened, I took it to the tables. You know, I mean, I shared openly about my problem and what was going on, and that they had took my money. After the meeting, two members of the fellowship came up to me afterwards and said, "Hey, man, this happened to me,
Mm,
and this is what I did."
mm,
And so the solution is not always here. Sometimes it's out here, right? So after I shared about what was going on in my life openly, which is new because I used to hold things in, so they blew up, and I blew up, shot dope, and ended up in jail. I shared about it openly, and the solution was presented to me, right? And they gave me a number to child support that's in this poem that I called and I asked for help. I said, "Look, this is my situation. I live in a recovery home. I'm trying to rebuild my life. I make $10 an hour. You're taking, you know, all this money. What are my options?" And they worked with me. You know what I mean? Lo and behold, they worked with me. I wasn't getting rich by any means, but after I got paid, I had $70 a week to buy cigarettes, get food, and make it. You know, and that's the thing about the solution. That's the beautiful thing about the program and the network. I've given that number to 20 men since that have shared openly
mm.
about the same thing, and they've been able to find the solution. You know, that's what recovery is addicts helping addicts, man. It's people that went through something and didn't have to get high over it, sharing it with the next person, so that they can get through without getting high.
So it sounds to me like you went hard in the streets and you went hard in recoveries. That's what I'm talking about. That's the good stuff. So you giving your story the way you tell it, the relaxing way. Now we're gonna hit you with some questions from the people in the audience, some of the people that know you really well. This is the fun part for me because he's not ready for these questions. These are things that he's gonna have to
Stay
answer.
ready so you don't have to get ready. I learned that in recovery too. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
That's right. So so the first question is from Dan Steiner. He says, in the last 5 years, what is the number one tool you have learned from recovery that you use on a daily basis?
um, I would say talk to another addict.
Mm,
Um, you know, that's one that I do no matter what. Is that I talk with another addict. You know, whether it's about their problems, my problems, or whatever. Like I have completely gotten in the middle of this boat. Um, you know, and I have people on each side of me to keep me from falling off the edge. So um, I think that talking to others, you know what I mean,
we call that staying plugged in.
yeah, plug them in,
Yeah, stay plugged in.
plug them in.
What has been the hardest part staying off? Is it either staying off drugs or staying out of the lifestyle? That is from your brother, Anthony Payton.
Let me be realistic. The drugs were a symptom of my lifestyle just choices. You know, my sponsor, Tom Jung, uh, he says if you stay the same, the person that you are has no choice but to get high. You know,
Mm,
so the person in my environment, the lifestyle. I mean, that's the short answer. You know, the lifestyle, because I could get into prison and you could take away the drugs and I could be sober, as people might call it, but still be messed up. You know, still do messed up things. Still teeter tottering. You know, with evil shenanigans.
mm.
So the lifestyle is definitely
The harder of the two.
The harder of the two. And let me be honest. Let me get honest. Sometimes the lifestyle pokes its way back into my life, right? Sometimes I am nowhere near perfect. Sometimes those traits and those character defects and things pop up in my life daily, and it's a full time job keeping the beast inside.
So, one of both of our mentors, Mr. Ken Vick, he would like to know, how would you describe the peace of mind that recovery brings you personally? And are you at peace?
First of all, let me send a shout out to Kim Vick. You are the man. If you guys don't know him, this is the recovery plug.
For real.
Like this is the plug.
Yeah, it's a plug.
My personal mentor. I miss you, buddy. I haven't seen you in a while. So let me send another shout out to a guy named Greg G from a friend of mine from one of the programs. Greg G in the beginning used to tell me in a meeting he brought into the recovery house. He used to tell me, he used to say, "How free do you want to be?" Right? Like, how free do you want to be? And I associated free like them letting me out of jail for many a years. You know what I mean? Freedom today is an inside condition, right? Freedom today, you know, the serenity that comes with this program and with doing the right thing for the right reasons, money can't buy. I just went through some things in late December, a house fire, my dog died. I mean, I went through some things that would have completely bonkers my life, my serenity. And I was able to maintain a good attitude, a good message, still continue to do the things that I do. And it's because of the serenity of recovery. It's because of the program, the people around me. I shared openly. Let me say that again. I shared openly about what was going on with me. And the community, the recovery community, reached out and showed up and let me know I'm not alone. Never again. They were there for me. People offered their couches, their houses. It's pretty amazing. And back to stay on topic, the peace and serenity is priceless. I'll say it again, it's priceless. It's absolutely priceless. I couldn't have sat here and had a normal conversation with you the last week I was so.
So, Barney, another one of our mentors and inspirations,
Bobby,
she says, what are three things that you never do because it'll jeopardize your recovery?
I don't go to the dope house, right? I don't go to the dope
You
house.
don't go to the
Not alone.
barbershop.
Let me clean that up. Not alone.
Mm.
I have been to the dope house to take somebody to detox, but I don't go hang out at the dope house. You know what I mean? I protect my environment, right? Like, and what I mean by that is like I'm a full fledged addict, so I try to stay away from dope,
Mm.
right? I know that if Donnie pulls out a dope pipe right now, the addict in me, the first thing I think is cha-ching, 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 like a slot machine,
Mm.
and I need that. You know what I mean? I can no longer lie to myself. I have to protect my environment and stay away from people, places, and things where that might come out. And then three, mm, that's tough. That's tough. You got me, Barbie. Number three. Mm-mm-mm. It's tough. You got me.
You had two good ones, really, too.
Yeah, two.
So we'll kind of piggyback on the second one, Lester, one where you said you stay away from certain things. What are some of the things that you've had to give up for your recovery?
Uh, Everything. You know. And that seems that I know that if you're new, that seems they said you only got to change one thing, and that's everything. Um, Let me help you, like somebody helped me. It's a process. You don't have to change everything today, right? I'm still changing things, and I'm a little bit into this. Um, the what was it again?
That you had to give up
Uh,
besides everything.
I mean, my friends, my homies, the streets, my pride,
Hmm.
my ego, right? Let's deflate that, and get honest. I had to give up and I like to say this, in order to become, and this is for anybody out there, in order to become the person you want to be, right? the person you are today has to die,
Mm.
right? And that's painful, right? That hurts. You know what I mean? That hurts. So I had to die to self. I mean, the short answer is everything. You know.
So I have a couple of questions because I'm really intrigued by the 12 steps and how they. I mean, I personally believe that every human being on this planet should go through the 12 steps, and it can solve anything that you're going through. What are the actually besides the first step, the fourth step is probably the hardest thing for anybody to deal with. What was your fourth step like?
My first four step was cruciating. It was painful. Was drawn out. I did it in a workbook. So there's a few questions here, and then I'd put it down. A few questions the next day. You know, and it's almost like I thought it was some sort of test because here's the workbook, here's the answers. I'm supposed to share it with the teacher, my sponsor. And I won't say that I missed the point of it.
Was you thorough?
I was pretty thorough, and I say pretty thorough because there's a couple of things that that I didn't go with that I wanted to share with a preacher or somebody that was not my sponsor at the time. But like I said, the man told me how free do you want to be. So when I say I was pretty thorough, there might have been one thing that I didn't put on the down. Um, you know,
So,
um,
so the ninth step is making amends. Did you make all the amends?
no, no.
What was the hardest one to admit?
I mean, the the hardest one is the one that I'm still trying to make amends to, and that's becoming a father to my kids. You know what I mean? And that's a process. Let me be honest. I have no clue or had no clue how to be a father. Right? Like I'm still winging it. How do you? I have a relationship with my 18-year-old son today. Like he lives with me and he has a daughter. But it's an ongoing process with the way I treat him, with the way I try to love him, you know what I mean? The way that I try to, and I get to watch men like Donnie, Nick C, shout out, great father, Dwayne S, great father, Tom Jung. I get to watch other men, and that's how this program and recovery works, right their wrongs with their kids and give relations and ask questions. But I'm not perfect, and I still, sometimes I'm so busy I don't get to spend the time with my kids I want. I don't get to I'm still human, man. It really turns out that most of the amends that I could make are living amends, right? By not doing the same things and not doing the same things to other people. My mom and the women, baby moms and all that sort of stuff. I mean, there's nothing that I could ever do to make some of the abuse and the things that I did to these women okay, right? Let's be realistic. All I can do is try to continue to do better, and that's tough. That's tough. Amends is tough. Turns out you don't owe everybody an apology. They've heard it. You know, Actions speak louder than words.
So, what is we all one of the things that we all say in recovery is we can't keep it if we don't give it away. What is besides the 12 steps? What other ways did you end up giving back? And I mean, I said earlier how you talked me into getting into recovery. What was it that you were doing, and then that when you made that step, and what made you why did you make that decision to get into recovery, like the field?
Um, this. So I was telling past for a long time because you heard me say earlier that I had to deflate my ego, that I had to shut up and listen, that I had to realize that all my solutions were garbage, and I was reserved and quiet kept. And those of you that know me from the beginning know the truth of this. So I was working for a lawn care company, and every winter I would have to take on a job cooking or something. Um, and Jessica Christian, shout out, Comprehensive Mental Health, uh, kept seeing me at meetings, and she asked me if I wanted a winter job, and I took on a winter job as a tech at the program that I had had went through years ago. You know, and it was this seed that was planted. You know, I had no idea that I would be any good or that I had something to offer men and women in treatment. And I took that winter job in November. I think December or something's when I started. And it blossomed into this beautiful, you know, next thing you know, I'm recovery coaching, and I'm involved in this other program, Epic, which is an amazing program. Shout out to the Epic team, man. You know, and shout out to Ken Vick. I had no idea that I'd be any good at group therapy. You know, I was in the office one day and I just became a recovery coach. And he walked up, he said, "Hey, you got the 11 o'clock group." I said, "Huh?" I said, "Well, what am I supposed to talk about?" He turned around, walked up and said, "Figure it out." You know what I mean? I figured it out, you know. It, it blossomed into this beautiful career, you know, and these credentials, and they educated me, you know what I mean? They taught me how to use the computer. They taught me, you know, all kinds of classes and all kinds of information about the disease, you know, uh, about me, about my people, you know, and I was able to share it openly. You know, and let me give a shout out to Carl with a K. He told me in the beginning, he said, you know, that the most valuable thing you have is your story. And I thought, God, man, nobody wants this garbage. You know, nobody wants this garbage. You know, and it turns out Carl was right. You know, he told me it'll be the key that unlocks somebody else's freedom. You know, unlocks their cage. You know, and that's what we do have. If you're new and you think you don't have anything to offer, you do. You are worthy. You know, and you never know. Trust and believe what your God or God has for you. You know, so yeah, it blossomed into this thing.
And now this thing is he's very very motivational. He is actually still to this day can talk me into getting out of my fear and out of my comfort zone, and actually has led me to do things that I was scared to do. I mean, literally, I was in fear, and he motivated me. He's very good at it. Now he has his own recovery house. Am I right?
Yeah,
His own recovery house. Runs his own recovery house. Uh, and you take the guys to church every Sunday. I mean, I see you at church every Sunday and
Reach KC,
getting involved.
Adam,
Yeah, getting
what's
involved
up?
with the recovery community at church too as well. It's really amazing, man, to see what you've done, and I've pretty much been right there alongside of you through this whole almost 6 years now for you, and it's, man, you're definitely it's definitely the reason why we're doing what we're doing now and trying to give back even a little bit more, man. And I love it. That's what Recovery Plugs is all about, man. We're trading your dope plugs for recovery plugs, man. And at any point in time, if you see this man on the streets, you can approach him and let him know, look, I need help. Show me which way to go. He can direct you. I'm going to tag his name in the description of this video. All the places that he's been, all the places that he was talking about in this video, we'll leave the links for that as well, so you know where you can go to. Anything else, man? Anything else you want to say?
I mean, just let me say, if you're out there struggling, man, feel free to reach out to me, Donnie, Barbie, any number of people. There's detoxes, there's treatment centers, there's solutions out here. Don't be afraid. You know what I mean? Somebody just like me or him went before you, and we're ready. We're waiting for you to reach out, man, so that we can share the good news with you, man. That any addict can lose the desire to use, find a new way to live. You know, and I'm any addict today. You know what I mean? I'm any addict. I'm not different. I'm not special. I'm any addict. You know, and I'm sitting here with my hand out. You know, because somebody had their hand out for me. You know, and I mean the most important message is if I can, you can. If Donnie can, you can. You know what I mean? It's worth it. You're worth it. You know what I mean? If nobody's told you yet today, we love you.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We love you.
All right, but this is the next episode will be Lester Deckard. If you don't know him, you will know him.
Lester, my guy.
Yeah, and it could air next Thursday. It could air the following Thursday. I don't know yet. I have to see when he can get in when he's available. So until next time, y'all. Keep on that pose and cut.